Last November, Taylor Swift broke all types of records with the release of her 10th studio album, Midnights, and I just want to know why. That's actually the shortest intro I've ever made, but I mean, why waste your time, you know? You guys know why I'm here. This shirt looks so bummy on me. It's supposed to be the Lavender Haze t-shirt, but like, why does it look so good on Taylor and then so bad on me? And we're still rocking the janky setup today, but hopefully by next week I'll have more things set up and it'll be a lot better. Midnights broke the record for most streams on an album in a single day for Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Music. It also was the only album to ever occupy all top 10 spots of the Billboard Hot 100. It demolished the record for modern era vinyl sales, and it's really just the tip of the iceberg, to be honest. Taylor Swift breaks records like Kyrie Irving breaks ankles so effortlessly and all the fucking time. But I mean, it's pretty obvious to me, at least, that those records being broken isn't because the album is that good, but because prior to its release, Taylor Swift had hit her peak popularity. She could have made Midnight's 14 me's, and it probably would have broken all the same records just because it's her. But putting all that aside, I would like to dive deeper into what this album has to offer as a body of work. Because I feel like when it came out, there was so much hype around Taylor Swift that I personally kind of looked at this album through rose-colored lenses, or I guess listened to it through rose-colored headphones. And I could be wrong, it could be as good as I remember it being, but there's only one way to find out, right? The day this video is out, Taylor actually released the Midnights Till Dawn Edition. I know, completely unintentional great timing again. What can I say, man? I'm him. And I do want to touch on those, but in order to keep my thoughts, I guess, just organized for this video, I'm going to break it up into 3 parts. We'll have the Standard Edition songs, the 3 AM tracks, and then the Till Dawn tracks.
Summer went away.
The idea that all of these songs were written at different points in her career at midnight.
Okay, so as I'm editing this, I literally just got a comment saying that they aren't songs that were written throughout her career at midnight. They're all songs written in the present tense that were inspired by like nights, like sleepless nights that she's had throughout her career. Which, yeah, that does make more sense. They're definitely written in the present tense. I was wrong, okay? This commenter was right, alright? I'm sorry.
Is not only genius marketing, but it's also just pretty cool. Makes it feel kind of like an anthology type album, you know what I mean? And also it just appeals more to people that have been along for the entire ride. They'll be able to reminisce of the different eras that Taylor's been through throughout her career. And making this series has definitely helped me better distinguish and understand those eras with each of the albums. I mean, if you go back to my first Taylor Swift video, I actually thought the whole era thing was kind of cringe. I still feel like it is kind of cringe when people are like, oh, I dyed my hair blonde, I'm in my blonde era. And then they realize that the roots look shitty, so they just dye it back to brown in like 2 weeks. But I mean, there's not really another word I could use to distinguish these eras, you know what I mean? So in that sense, I've come around on the word. But back to what I was saying, listening to all these albums again and diving deeper into the rabbit hole has really helped me understand all of their places in Taylor's career. Like, I'm honestly surprised that I gave Reputation a 5 last week, because on my first listen, I hated that shit. And I honestly liked Midnights from the jump, but I've grown to like it more now because I understand it a little better after having gone through all these different albums and experiencing, I guess, in my own time, all of these different eras. I mean, with that concept, some of these songs feel like they're pulled directly from another album. Like Vigilante shit should be on Reputation. You know, Sweet Nothings feels like a folklore cut, which could make the album a little bit more inconsistent tonally, but I don't think it does. Instead, it just feels like she's looking back on her life through a more mature and somber lens. The best example of that is Maroon, which is a banger. I can't find my button. I'm not finished unpacking yet, but just for the time being, I'll say it's a banger. I can't remember exactly where I heard it from. It was probably like an Ali Sheehan video, but apparently Maroon is supposed to be Taylor Swift looking back on her Red era with just like a more subdued perspective. And that's why it's called Maroon, you know, because it's like red, like if it were darker is like a maroon, you know. And that actually makes perfect sense to me, you know. It looks back on a relationship, probably Jake Gyllenhaal, that started pure and innocent but unraveled into a mess over time. But if All Too Well was written, say, like a few months after they'd broken up, this song feels like it was written a few years after that relationship ended. So while All Too Well is still very stuck in the moment and it is still like hurting from that heartbreak, Maroon is her reflecting on the relationship after she's already completely healed and addressing the legacy that the relationship left her with. In a Maroon, she's less bitter and more mature. So yeah, as a Red stan, I really like this song. It feels so midnighty too. Like, if you haven't listened to Midnights at Midnight yet, it kind of slaps. Like, I gotta recommend it. As a whole, I think the songwriting on this album is not peak. It feels like she's the most experienced she's ever been when writing an album, but somehow it kind of loses a little bit of magic because there's something really special about being a 20-something girl writing a song like All Too Well versus being someone that's like in her 30s, you know, like she's already experienced a lot of life, so it's not as surprising that she's able to articulate her thoughts that well. I hope that made sense, but I don't know. So yeah, the songwriting is great, and I also really love the bassy, sort of lo-fi type production. Similar to Reputation, this album is kind of a little bit less cohesive on the back half, but it's not like a blob. You know, Reputation became a blob by the end. Alright, that's enough. I think I dogged on that album enough last week. For now, let's talk about how I feel about the songs on this album individually. A banger, and a great way to introduce that sort of euphoric insomnia type pop sound. If I were a Swiftie prior to this album, and I heard that little boom, 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 meet me at midnight, I would have lost my shit, bro. Like, that's so hype. One of my favorites on the album, I obviously just talked about this like 30 seconds ago, but I want to add that I like how the chorus prolongs the use of the word maroon. You know, like, so scarlet it was, you know, like, they don't say maroon until the end, and I just think that's a really nice payoff. And in general, it's just a nice slow banger. You know, I love a nice fucking slow banger. Really good. At first I wasn't really sure why this was like the big takeaway single of the album, just because there's so many other songs on this album that I like more. But the more I think about it, I realize structurally this is definitely the most radio friendly song. So I guess it makes sense. I'm just not like, I'm not a big fan. I literally listened to this song like 10 times and I still can never hear Lana. But the song itself is kind of beautiful, man. I'm excited to hear the more Lana version for sure. Bro, this song slaps. Like, it might be my favorite on the whole album. I just love like what it stands for, you know? And the bridge-ish part where it goes, there were pages turned when the bridges burned, something messed you, the step you take. It's not like insanely deep, but it just fucking hits. This was one of my favorites when I first listened to the album, but it's not as Cash Money these days, in my opinion. Still good though. I mean, I love the hook, but I just feel like the production of it stays kind of consistent throughout the entire thing, and it gets a little bit stale. This one's alright. It kind of reminds me of like a slower 1989 track with like the harmonies and stuff, but I also feel like it just isn't as good as the songs on 1989. Bleh. But it's better than some of the worst songs on Reputation, so I guess I'm fine with its existence. I don't listen to it, like, ever really, but I respect how over the top it is, and I also think the music video is pretty funny. The drop after the second chorus is just so good, man. I love this song. Definitely my top 5, probably, maybe. I don't know. I know this one's popular, but I don't really like it. That whole cat metaphor is just, like, I get why you guys might like it because it's like a girl boss moment or whatever, but to me it's just kind of corny, if I'm being honest. I also just don't really mess with karma as like an idea, because it's always scummy to hope bad things happen to people, even if they do deserve it. It's nice, but I don't listen to it. I like the concept though. I like the production, but this one's sad, man. Like, I'm sorry, Taylor. I would have played with you when I was little, I promise. Damn, I feel like I said so much for each of these songs, but I don't know, man. There's just a lot to say. Midnights is like the peak of Taylor adding deeper meanings to her songs, and because it spans her entire career, it hits on a lot of different beats, so it's just a lot to cover. But to sum up, I like this album a lot. I really don't have many critiques of it beyond just the occasional corny lyric and underwhelming production. I'll give this portion of the album an 8. It's alright, you know, the production feels a lot lighter, which is cool. It's a nice change up, but so much of what I like about the production of Midnights is those moments where it feels like, you know what I mean? That's really the only way I can describe it. It's just like, yeah, you get it. Nah, I mean, it's alright. I like the airy vocals on this, which is honestly a trend throughout a lot of the songs on this album, but I feel like it works best in this particular song. This song fucking slaps, alright? Like, I don't need to say shit. Just look at HTA's vibe into it. It's a banger! I'm not a fan of the production, but it's a good, solid song. This shit is actually kind of vibey, man. Like, I like the really flat sounding drums, but I don't like the staticky, like, sound, which I know because the song is called Glitch, it's like, it's intentional. I just find it kind of distracting, to be honest. Arguably one of the best songs on this entire album. I just think the line, I damn sure never would have danced with the devil at 19 really hits, bro. And the I regret you all the time part at the end, woo! It's a banger, bro. It's a banger. And it also proves that Taylor could just keep writing these heartbreak anthems for the rest of her career, and we're always gonna eat them up. And it's alright, you know, I'm not a big fan, but it's fine. The 3 AM edition to Midnights is probably the best deluxe edition that I've ever seen. I mean, 2 of these songs are probably in my top 5 for the whole album. Like, that's wild. And I feel like the whole 3 AM concept is just really clever, because, you know, like, midnight is like, you know, you're having deeper thoughts, you're kind of dipping your toes into your bag, but 3 AM, that's fucking demon time, bro. You're swimming at the bottom of your bag, pulling up shit from your past you haven't thought about in years. And I think that's really fitting for these songs, because they're just bolder ideas and deeper cuts. Like, Would've, Could've, Should've is too good and too damn sad for the rest of the standard edition songs. I'll give this portion of the album an 8.5.
Comment is that girl, like.
Okay, so I really liked It's Different. I thought it was like a solid, different song. Snow on the Beach was good too. For some reason, I noticed with like a lot of Lana Del Rey songs, it kind of sounds like her mic is like shitty, but I thought her verse was great. I thought it was fine. When I first saw that she was doing a song with Ice Spice,
I was just kind of like, who asked? But it kind of slaps, man. I definitely like it more than the original Karma. It's a banger. What do you want? It's a banger, man. All in all, I would give the Till Dawn tracks, I guess like a 7, maybe an 8. I don't know, like somewhere around there. Midnights is a super interesting album because I just think flat out no other artist could ever make anything like it. Not necessarily from a quality standpoint, you know, I think it's not the best album ever created, but because it is a culmination of the adversity that she's faced during her career and just the heartbreak that she's opened up about in her previous works, with the skills and style that she's gained as a songwriter over the years, it just results in this like perfect storm, you know, and it only hits as hard as it does because it's Taylor Swift. It does make me curious about what direction she'll go with her next studio album because this feels kind of final. It better not be though, alright? Because if I'm unable to go to the Eras tour, I need to see her in concert on some other tour. You know, you gotta go on tour again. And what am I gonna make videos on if she stops making music, man? What am I gonna do? I can't stop my channel at 9,000 subs. We're on a roll here. By the way, you should sub if you haven't yet, you know, road to 10K. But anyways, because of how big of a deal this album feels and how, I guess, cool the concept is, and, you know, it doesn't really disappoint on any fronts, I'm inclined to give it a fucking 10. But, you know, I feel like the quality of the lyrics is really good, but not great, not perfect. And production is also a really big deal to me personally. And I feel like it's kind of hit or miss on this album. Sometimes it's really great, and sometimes it feels like I wish they did a little more. So I'm gonna give it a, drumroll please, an 8.5. Here's my top 5 songs. I'll give you a moment to look it over. I'm definitely making an updated playlist by the end of this series because I just have so many new songs that I've discovered with it that I fucking love, you know, and some songs got a little old. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, Love Story, you're a banger, you're a good kid, you might not make the top 25. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and also follow me on Spotify. Anyways, that's pretty much where we're gonna wrap things up here. Sorry if this video felt kind of messy, you know, I'm still like unpacking and shit, and I did make a bonus video this week, which in hindsight was not the best idea. Go watch it if you haven't yet. That Jonas Brothers album fucking slaps, bro. But I promise the next one, I might have to take a week break, but I guess we'll see. But I promise the next video in this series is gonna be really good. Comment below your favorite song on Midnights and what you would rate it out of 10. And be sure to like this video too, you know, it helps out a lot. So thanks for all the support on this series, man, and I'll see you guys next week. Boom, 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 boom,